Good evening, and I do mean good evening. It's going to be a great evening tonight. We'll have some very emotional people talking about a very emotional subject tonight on the Buddy Martin Show. We have guests and fans and sponsors and all kind of people. It's going to be a great night. You're going to hear from Jeffrey Meldon. I can't wait for him to tell me about it, what it's like for him. I know it was emotionally charged. He'll be talking to us live from back home in Gainesville, and then we've got Ali Peek-Wilbur, who's of course about a four-time Gator legacy. She'll be doing a lot of the show with us tonight. Scott Carter will join us from Gainesville. He's back from San Antonio, and a really special piece that you not want to miss. It's a recording of Chris Doering. We have a fabulous picture which we put up on. I hope you got to see it on the Twitter or where Facebook of him standing there in the arena and weeping openly with his son as he thinks about his parents who brought him to Gator games and basketball games and baseball games when he was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And all the Gator came out in him. It's a beautiful picture and a beautiful story. And this could be a beautiful night, and you could make it that way. So why don't you come and join us and give us your thoughts? I know you're going to love what's said. This is tonight when it's going to be okay to declare your allegiances as a Gator. As I said the other night when I opened the show, tonight I'm not going to be the editor-owner of Gator Bait. I'm not going to be the broadcaster. I'm going to be a proud Gator, and you should be too. Stand by. It's about to happen, folks, right here on the Buddy Martin Show.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
Ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. It's going to be a good one. I got to tell you, the emotions are really flowing today and tonight, yesterday. People are so happy and glad. It's been special, and the emotions we didn't even know we had are pouring out. And I can't wait to talk to this guy who's been a big supporter of Gators, of University of Florida, of this program, and especially of Todd Golden and the Gator basketball team. I know a lot more about that relationship than I should know. And I know that he and Todd are very close. What he wants to share with us tonight, we'll find out. If we bring on Jeffrey Meldon, sponsor, friend, great Gator, I can't wait to see that smiling face. There it is. There it is. You got backwards somewhere. We don't have it right, but that's a beautiful shirt, man. You get that in San Antonio?
Of course. Yeah.
Are you home now? Are you home?
Buddy, I went to every souvenir place I could find there to bring back memorabilia.
You're going to have to have a lot of new clients because I'm sure.
I got a hat for you.
Oh, you do? Great. Thank you. So great. I appreciate that. You're very kind. You're always thinking of other people. Tonight, though, for a short period of time, before we're joined by Scott Carter and then Ali Peek-Wilbur, and we're going to hear a beautiful interview with Chris Doering we taped earlier today. You're going to love it. He was choked up at the horse, and he totally lost it today on Twitter talking about what that meant to him personally. So you're going to hear that. I want to hear from you, though, because you're as big as they get in terms of Gator fans, you and your friend Todd Golden, tonight on Top of the World.
Well, we had an amazing month, buddy. I had the privilege of going up to Nashville. Then we went out to San Francisco and finally out to San Antonio. And I want to tell you the most important experience I had was getting to meet the parents of all the players. In San Francisco, there weren't that many Gator fans out there. We were staying at the team hotel for 4 days, and all the parents were downstairs, in the lobby, and we were all hanging out. And I am so proud of the families that our players come from. It's just amazing. And Todd Golden should be given a lot of credit because he found players that were not only talented, but had great character and know how to live their lives in a great way.
Well said. We talked about it ad nauseum for the last 48, 72 hours. We've been on the air almost every night. I won't bore you with what I'm saying. I want to hear what you got to say about your friend and explain your relationship with Todd and how you feel about this. And also the fact that Chris Doering just wept openly talking about this win and what his parents. And tonight, I'm thinking about, who did you think about? I think about you. I think about my friend Augie Greiner, who for so many years supported Gator basketball. I think about Franz Beard, Mr. Gator basketball writer. He's among the best. Randy Briggs, my good friend. Bill Koss, the announcer. I can go on. People that come to my mind. I'm so happy for them as well. And Jeffrey, I'm really happy for you.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you, Todd kept his, game face on, but there was a lot going on the last 4 weeks, and to be able to sweep Nashville and then, go up to Raleigh and take care of business. And San Francisco was no walk in the park. That was a tough weekend. And we really had an amazing time. I won't forget a minute of our experience traveling with the Gators for the last month. Like I said, the families, we got to know all the families in the lobby in San Francisco. And then when we got to San Antonio, they were like old friends, right? And the night before the game, Sunday night, I'm sitting there drinking this great bourbon with Micah Hanlotten's dad, Ben, and Condo's dad, Alec Condon's dad, and Scott Strickland stopped by to say hello. And we're all sitting there drinking. And it was such a wonderful experience getting to know them. And since I've traveled with the team for the past few years, I've gotten to know the players on a more personal basis than just being a fan. And it was great because before every game, the last 3 weeks, I've been able to see the players, before the game started, give them a little, go get them, Tiger. And so anyhow, it was so exciting just to see them win. I don't know if you heard, but they had a cruise on the river.
I saw pictures. Were you in there?
Well, we were watching. We were at the team hotel, the Westin on Riverwalk, and we're there with the whole crew, and they're coming on the boat. I'm so proud of these guys. They not only are they great basketball players, but they have great character, and that means a lot. And I think Todd Golden should be given a lot of credit for that because he looked for that when he's recruiting.
Yeah. Again, I know nobody had a better seat in the house than you. You were on the inside. You knew the people. You knew them all you called the players by their nicknames. My gosh, how much pleasure can you get? The Condo. I heard it, and it was one. I know. Tell me, it must have been an exhilarating experience for you. And like all the rest of us, however, when they were down at halftime like that and not playing well, and so far Walter Clayton Jr. did not have a bucket, we were all sweating bullets. I think they led for a total of 64 seconds in that game. You must have had your heart pounding in your chest.
Well, when they tied the game at 48 all, I thought we were going to take over the game at this point, right?
Yeah.
I'm going like, okay, I've seen this show before.
Yeah.
They came back from 12. It's tied at 48. Here we go, and then it didn't happen. And it
53 all.
keep going. And I'm going like, oh,
yeah.
So
it was amazing.
And frankly, when the game was over, it was chaos. It was complete chaos because nobody knew exactly what had happened.
What happened? Yeah, it was so hard to keep up with. I had to stop. I was doing the show. I said to Brendan, "Give me a minute. I got to think what happened. It's happened. I saw it, but it hasn't registered in my brain. It's so fast and it reversed completely around. And I know everybody knows what happened, but when they came down there and what happened then when they gave the basketball up and there were 20 whatever it was seconds to go, and taking the ball down the court, and I'm thinking this is taking forever. And then what was amazing was the star offensive player, Walter Clayton Jr., made the key defensive play of the night when he couldn't hit a bucket for the first 2.5 quarters, and he still got 11 points. He goes up and makes a great play. And by the way, that play, I've said this before, that was coached. That was not something that happened because they coached trying to block a shot without hitting the shooter. You don't foul a three-point shooter. And Walter talked about it. He said, we work on that, how to go up and move out of the way. Because all he had to do was touch him, and there's 4 foul shots. Right? The game over. So that play happened. And then he came down and couldn't get rid of the ball. The ball goes on the floor. And Houston, who said over and over again how proud they were of the guys on their team because they dove for the ball on the floor. They practice that drills. They do it all the time. Nobody from Houston got that basketball because there was a guy with a Gators jersey ready to pounce on him. All 6'11" of him. And he made the game saver by grabbing that ball. And it was just incredible. And I'm thinking, what just happened? What happened? Now you had to be thinking the same thing, right?
Yes. I was just in disbelief because I couldn't believe we won the game. It was like one of those moments. And I'm going, we just won? And my wife, Patricia, and my son, Kerry, are sitting on either side of me, and we're all looking at each other. We did it. We did it. We won. And then, you know what? For a brief moment, it flashed in my mind how heartbroken the Houston coach and players must have been because they had that game, but they just, they made mistakes. I mean, I like to think they were forced mistakes because you're right. Walt Clayton, they coached the team so they knew how to make plays in the critical seconds.
Yeah.
And even before Walt's play, did you see how tight they guarded the 3-point shot? And they, it was an amazing ending. But I would say, you just said Walter Clayton Jr.'s block was, the best defensive play of the game. I think it was the best defensive play for the entire college basketball season.
You can make a case for that. Yeah. And the critical thing was, this is how they're coached. Even on nights when they don't have their best stuff, when they're struggling to get the shots off, as they were, they covered him. Like, give Houston credit. They weren't going to let him beat them. They threw everything they had at him. And yet at that point, when he made that play, he had 7 assists in that game. Wound up with 11 points. And he made that defensive play of the night because why? Because somebody needed to make it. And he was there, and he was going to be there. And then Kondo, of course, made his great play. So, I mean, it was just amazing. I couldn't even think about what you must have been going through. Your head must have been spinning, man.
Well, we're in the Gators section, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, it's mayhem. It was complete mayhem going, in the stands because people were all going, we won. It was almost like everybody telling each other, yeah, we really won the game because it was such a crazy ending. Yeah,
it really was. And it was a beautiful thing. And I want you to share with me a little bit about your feeling about for Todd, who you had privileged information about as he was going through his tough time? You and I talked about a lot, and how hard it had to be. It's like a death sentence when you get a Title IX suit filed against you. You know what I mean? And you got no defense for it. And the fact that he was able to put that aside and focus on this team and get the priorities right and coach his team so well, who, by the way, I think he should have been coach of the year and Walter Clayton should have been player of the year without a doubt. But the people didn't seem to want to give it to the Gators, man. They just didn't want to give it. What was it like out there?
Hey, you know what? All I can tell you is I talked with Micah Hanlotton about what happened when they brought that Title IX bullshit against Todd, and he said Todd sat the team down. He said, "Guys, we're going to get through this. We're not going to let this be a distraction." Right away, back when it first came out, he sat the team down and he said, "I'm not going to let myself get distracted by it. I don't want you guys to be distracted by it. And we're going to stay together like a brotherhood." And that was the difference.
He did that. Amazing focus. What a very unusual young man at 39 to have achieved this now. So I didn't ask you. I asked you earlier. You didn't answer. When it was finally hitting you, you're sitting there with your wife. I know Patricia was calm, I'm sure. Your wife and son, I know he was calm. and you're with them, but who were you thinking about in terms of Gator basketball people? Did you have any thoughts about people at that moment in time?
I was just hugging and kissing my wife and jumping up and down, hugging my son. And we were all, the crowd, it was mayhem, buddy. It was absolute mayhem in there because the Gators turned out for San Antonio. We had a fairly light crowd in San Francisco because of the distance.
Right.
And, so it was a much different feeling in San Antonio. Number one, it was the Final Four, but there must have been 20,000 Gator fans that showed up for that final game.
Yeah.
Saturday night wasn't like that. What happened is a bunch of Gator fans flew in on Sunday and Monday to get there, and we dominated the crowd in Texas, where Houston should have dominated it, but I guess they're not a huge school like Florida, so I don't think they have had as many alumni involved, whatever. But I was so proud of Gator Nation for showing up there. I mean, I can't tell you how many people showed up Sunday and Monday.
This guy showed up. He was there, Scott Carter. And Scott, if you can hear me, I hope you can. Say hello to Jeffrey real fast. And
how's it going?
Exciting. I'm still on a high.
Yeah, that's been
living life. Scott's just getting back too. Jeffrey, thanks for sharing. I have to go because I have to do this commercial for some guy. Why don't you do it? Why don't you do the commercial for Meldon Law?
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it.
At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
God, give me more than that. I better do it for you. All right. Jeffrey, we thank you for everything. I'm glad you had a great time. I couldn't help but think about you and being so close to Todd and being out there for the whole thing. You made the whole trip, man. You got to be exhausted, but you got a great looking shirt on. We're happy. You're happy. And congratulations to you and to everybody else. Gator Nation, this is an exceptional time to be a Gator.
Yeah, I one final thought, buddy, is that, for 20 years, Gator Nation was winning national championships, left and right. And we were always in the mix. We had Steve Spurrier and Billy Donovan and Urban Meyer, and it's been a drought. And I think that was part of the excitement and the just everything going on. It's been 2008, 17 years since we've had a basketball or football championship. And that was the mood in the crowd. When we won, it was, okay, Gator Nation is back.
Yeah, the great thing about it is I love the last tweet. I'll get Scott to comment on this by Walter. Stay hot, Gator boys. And I thought about football and that carrying over to football. And Scott, wouldn't it be something if that became the mantra of the football team? The big celebration on Saturday, which Scott's going to tell us about. And the big, there you go. There he is. Good Walter. Yeah. He's always among the stars. There, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Walt's not 6'11". He's only like 6'3" or 4". You can see how short Patricia and I am.
He can still dunk on you, though.
but I have pictures with Todd and all the players, different players over the last couple of weeks, and these are memories we'll never forget. And I just want to thank Gator Nation for supporting Todd. He's a wonderful guy. A brilliant coach, and a very, very good dad, husband, really a great man. So I think we ought to honor him.
And you said that before he won a national championship, and you've been saying it the whole time as we talked about this. I know you really love Todd, and we're right. He did. Right.
I got to tell you one final thing. So I got to be good friends with his dad over the.
I saw him on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so his dad and I, his dad's a personal injury lawyer in Phoenix, right? So, and I met Todd's sister, and, we're all sitting around chatting, and his dad is a hoot. Scott is his name.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have, I got to show you. This is, this is after the game, okay? I don't know if you can see. That's his dad.
Oh, yeah, we see you. Two old Dodgers now, right here, really rocking and rolling. Yeah, boy.
Anyhow, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. Great.
Hey, buddy, I think we're going to have a deal Saturday to honor the team.
Scott's going to tell us about it. I'll know more about it. It's at the game. And during the game, they're going to have a special presentation.
Yeah, great. Okay.
All right, man. Thank you. Congratulations, Jeffrey.
Hey, congratulations to all of the Gator Nation.
Yeah, boy, for sure.
It's more fun being a winner.
It is, for sure.
That's true.
Right, thank you. Well, there's the commercial right there. What am I going to say now besides that? He obviously loves the Gators, and he's put his money where his mouth is. And, well, I didn't never get in touch with you because you were so busy out there, and everybody was, and it happened so fast. Take me through highlights for you. I started out the show tonight talking about where were you when the Gators won this game, and what kind of response did you have, and who did you think of, and who was your first person, Scott, that you thought about in this game after this game when the championship was won, because it happened so fast.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably going to have a little different perspective than most.
Good.
I'm by the court there, and I was basically doing the instant recap on the website so Chris could be free to do some other stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, like you guys were talking about, the game ends, and you're like, "Is it over? Is
What
that
happened?
it?" Yeah. So it's just like, and you've been on deadline a million times, buddy. At the end of the game, you're just trying to collect your thoughts, make sure you write complete sentences, spell all the names wrong. Or spell all the names right, and hopefully what you put out makes sense, because it was chaotic there. But I mean, it was just like Jeffrey just said. I mean, you just felt the electricity. And to be honest, the thing that's resonated with me the most, and he touched on it. When I came into UF in this role, I mean, what interested me so much about the job, besides, I went to school here, and I just knew these programs were so successful. And they were just coming off all the back-to-back titles and the 2 football titles. And I got to thinking, man, this is going to be amazing. And we have had a drought. I mean, we've had some
You're the reason it happened. You are the reason.
Maybe it is. I mean, I've covered baseball national championship. I've covered gymnastics national championship. I went to 4 Elite Eights and a Final Four, in Billy Donovan's final time. But, since really 2017, 18, 19, we've been in a little drought, and it's nice to, be back on that big stage. And you kind of forgot what it's like, and you realize how important this thing is to so many people. And you saw all these people out there in San Antonio. Buddy, I remember before Saturday's game against Auburn, I was in the hotel there, and I heard a commotion. I knew the pep rally had started. I could hear the band playing. I could hear the fans outside in the lobby. But I was up on the 14th floor, so I was thinking, all right, I'll go ahead and down and find my way. I like to walk to the arena. And when I get down there, man, there was nowhere to move. I'd never seen so many fans at the hotel like that for any send-off. And, of course, I wasn't here in the 06, 07 years, but, man, it was just packed. So it was just a great turnout by the Gator fans, and just a reminder of why we all care about this so much.
It was very highly personal, including to this lady. She was there. She was the one taking all the space up down there with her client. And she was, I'm sure she celebrated just a little bit, I would imagine. Ali, how do you feel today?
I am still so tired, guys. I went to sleep at 7 o'clock last night when I put my littles down, and slept until 7 o'clock this morning. And I still feel like I got run over by a bus. I
Probably
was
did.
we decided on Sunday at 8 o'clock, like, you know what? We got to do it. We got to go. We booked our flight at 7 o'clock at night on Sunday, or 8 o'clock at night on Sunday. I finished packing at 12:15. The alarm went off at 3:30 in the morning to go to the airport. And the child came in 2 separate times between that 12:15 and that 3:30 alarm because they needed water. So I got like 45-minute cat naps during that. Go to the airport. Flight takes off at 5:50. Fly to Dallas. From Dallas, fly to San Antonio. Get off the plane. Have lunch and literally go to. We were at Hard Rock. Went to the game. Amazing. Out till 2:30 in the morning at the team hotel. Our Uber picked us up at 4:30 in the morning to take us to the airport. And then I walked in the door at 1:15. Well, actually, no, our plane landed at 1:15. I walked in the door at 2:51 and had to have a child out the door by 3 o'clock to get to gymnastics.
Whoa.
So
you're crazy, girl.
I am like delirious at this point, but it was so worth it. Worth every, the next week of recovery that's going to take me.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, yeah, so we're just discussing how personal this was to so many people in different ways. Later on, Scott probably won't be here. We're going to play Chris Doering's 6-minute bite today he gave me. He was so did you see the
So I saw it, and I actually texted him. It was before I saw what you were going to talk about on the show. But I saw it, and I texted him because Eric recorded me watching One Shining Moment on the Jumbotron to send to my dad, because I watched it with my dad every single year. Like, whether we're on FaceTime with each other or in person, like, we watch it every year and have for as long as I can remember. Like, I mean, I was probably maybe 10 by the time I could stay up late enough to watch it after games, but I've watched it with them every single year. So that resonated so deeply with me, because that's our family tradition, and it is like, it's a sport. We talk about the ties that bind and how that is what sports are for all of our families. Right. And that was just a good reminder of that.
I'll ask you both, why was this so highly personal? I don't know why. We've been down this road a few times. I'm not sure it was the style of play, the underdog aspect of it, the fact that they were always down. We were sitting on the edge of our chairs. They kept coming back and coming back. There were a bunch of no stars out there doing this. And we're sitting there thinking, and it was so highly personal when it happened. It's like, I don't believe this just happened. And you start thinking of all the people you know and knew and experienced with Gator basketball.
Yeah.
Immediately, I go back to Augie Greiner, who I knew forever before he passed. He was Mr. Gator. He held that program together with Billy and Norm Sloan way back then. I thought of other people like Randy Briggs. I thought about Franz Beard, who's been through this so many times. By the way, who had a knee injury, has to have surgery and battled through it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is a person. And then I talked to Chris Doering, and he was so emotional again talking about this. And I'm going to play this interview a little bit later. And I asked him who he thought about it. He said his parents. Mm-hmm. That his parents took. You saw the clip.
Yeah.
That they had taken him to all these games when he was young, and he got to watch them when he was a little boy. And the Gator came out in us. You know what I mean? and it's okay. It's okay to have that feeling, and I feel like it's an honest way to approach it now because I came on the air the night and said I did so many shows I didn't know what I was doing. I said I hear tonight not as a broadcaster, not as a writer, but as a University of Florida Gator. That's who I am, and my life has been tied to other just like it has to you two guys. It was such an emotional thing. Why was that, Scott?
Well, I mean, I think for the bigger crowd, the audience that we've touched on, I think there's been so much uncertainty in college athletics the last few years, and obviously Florida has had a stretch that we haven't had since the 70s or maybe the late 80s, where I remember when they went 4-7 in 2013. I was like, holy cow, I don't know what a losing football season's like. And obviously, they had a tremendous amount of injuries and everything, but then you've seen a struggle to kind of get back to where we went to nationally. And of course, basketball hasn't quite had the same dip, but it's not been the same for the last few years. And so I think all that just added together, with okay, can Florida, are we still on that level? I think there was a little, maybe in the back of some people's minds, that was it. So I think that question has been answered. And of course, the personal part of it is what really, we all do. Like I say, we care, but the reason this stuff matters so much because so many people care about it. And what I thought of, buddy, I mean, after I got done knocking out my little story, it just took me back when I saw the students back here at the O-Dome and going out on University Avenue. I was actually a student in '94 when they made their first ever Final Four. And I was one of those people out on University because I wasn't in Charlotte.
You're the guy that climbed up on the
No, I didn't do that. I was not that brave.
Listen, I can't listen. I was in a fraternity. One of my fraternity would have been up there. I was a Phi Delta, and they were really crazy. So, but we all had our moment there, and it was just it was more personal than I expected. And I think we're hearing it from all of you, the same thing. Ali, generations for you, Jolly. Generations. I mean, my gosh, your grandfather. Think about those.
Well, I did. I thought about him and how he would have loved this so much. It's going to make me cry. It's
okay. It's okay. We've all been crying all day.
Was his passion, and so he would have been pumped. But I also think it's emotional. It gets emotional for Eric and I because when they won it in April of 2006, we were juniors in high school or in college. And I can remember Eric lived in a duplex that still stands directly across the street from the O'Connell Center next to Hillel. And we watched it in the front yard. Tate Casey and I were talking about this at the game because he watched it with us. And, a bunch of our teammates, and we watched it. We put a couch in the front yard. This is so very Gainesville College experience, and watched the game. And we watched the police start to barricade off University Avenue. And so they parked kind of right in front of the president's house and down. And as the clock hit 0, you literally watched every door on University Avenue just swing open, and people started pouring into the streets, and we just headed towards Midtown. And as we were going, we kept running into more and more of Eric's teammates. And the amount of them that looked at each other and said, "We want this too." I mean, dozens of them. And so at the end, you're standing almost in front of where the old Swamp restaurant used to be. And they're all, celebrating, hugging each other, but really kind of challenging each other to we want to do this too. And when people recount these stories and they say the basketball team was the spark plug. Yeah, it was. It truly I watched it in real time happen, spark the football team. And it did kick off what became the greatest, little stretch there in UF history, that 4-year stretch of 2 basketball, 2 football. We got some swimming national titles in there. I mean, just an incredible time to be a Gator. And I think that there's a lot of us that lived through that see so many similarities with this program. And I also think, this team is an anomaly in this NIL era, right? These are not
That's a key right there. That's a big key.
It is. These are not guys that chase the biggest bag. These were not highly recruited guys. That most of them played for mid-majors, and they, came together and did something special, and they fought for each other. And, when Walter Clayton was interviewed afterwards, he talked about, how did you not get down on yourself when you didn't score at all in the first half and it just shots weren't falling your way? And he said something so interesting. And essentially it was, we're a team. And we've said all year, if it's not one person's day, it's somebody else's. So I wasn't, he wasn't worried about it. And I think that is, that describes this team so perfectly. It is a team. And, and for the personal touch for all of us, we all remember that moment that we became fans. And it was, for pretty much all of us, probably somebody that we loved in our life that loved the sport. And so they introduced us to it, right? Or loved the university. And so they introduced it to us. So I think that's probably what all of us think about when we celebrate and we watch these moments.
It's well said, and I think we're sharing, feeling like we're sharing this with a bunch of it. I know that Chris said sitting there in the stands with his teammates and people he played with.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he saw one, he got emotional for them.
Yeah,
because they were experiencing this together.
Mm-hmm. I was with Chris before and after the game, and
yeah.
And he was with his son, and I think it's emotional for all of them. And a lot of Eric's teammates were there as well. And it was the same kind of experience for them too. And there's such a small group of guys at UF that know firsthand what it's like to win it. So then when they see each other, when another team is winning it, it's almost like, okay, we're welcoming another group into this fraternity. Right. And there's just not that many of them. And there's just, nobody sees the work that goes in, right? Like they see the payoff, and these guys know what it took to get to that point.
Yeah, well said. And I think I kind of got the feeling we're all in this together for some reason. The way they won, I mean, every game was like, okay, this is it. They're going to blow up. They're not going to make it. And they keep winning. They find a way to win the game. And they don't really care who gets the credit. They really don't care, as you said, the team. During the greatest time in our sport, when we all say these kids want money, it wasn't about money.
Yep.
Walter Clayton wanted to be a Gator.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a Gator. That's why he left Iona and came there. And you look at Richard. He was the first guy to come there. The way they played for each other. They played the depth. They played because they didn't care who got the credit. It's such a beautiful story. You're right, Allie. In an era when team has been diminished now, this is a great story of a team. An example of that one shining moment, Scott, is the fact that these guys did not care who got the credit.
Yeah, and just in an era where we all wonder if that's lost forever, like you just said, it's nice to be reminded that it can still happen the way you really want it to always happen. And after being out there and around those guys, obviously I'm not around this team as much as Chris during the regular season, but I can tell you, man, everything about them that you've heard, I mean, they're just all good guys. I mean, it's the kind of guys you would enjoy hanging out with, or I wouldn't have any trouble if I left a kid with them. They're just good guys. They get along with each other. And it's kind of cliche stuff, guys. We're all in this together. We hear it a lot, and sometimes you kind of don't buy into it. But man, when you see it and it's real, it is kind of refreshing. I wish it wasn't refreshing. I wish it was more to normal. But so, and then you think back to all championship teams, right? I mean, the reason we love those back-to-back national championship teams because they had that same camaraderie and brotherhood too. And the football teams, I mean, you always have to have that true connection, or like Alex said, you're not going to stick together in all the behind the scenes work because that's where it all really happens.
Yeah.
In the payoff, we all get to see it. But it was just very cool moment and experience to get to, get embedded with those guys. And I tell you, man, it's one of my favorite teams I've ever had at UF. I mean, they rank in my top 2 or 3. And I think Walter Clayton Jr., he's established his place.
Yes.
If he wants to come back and run for mayor or president one day, he'll be fun in games.
He'll be welcome to do that. What I'm really excited for is this generation of students. They have not experienced a lot of winning, at least in the major sports, right? I mean, Florida still wins national championships in lots of things, but unless you're a gymnastics fan or, a swimming fan or a track fan, you're not getting the same kind of, high from it as these students were on University Avenue. And I almost think that that's going to be a great thing, though, for all of the other sports. Don't you think that crowd is going to be so much more pumped when football season rolls around? They know what winning tastes like now, and they never had before. I mean, we're a generation away from students that knew what it was like to win on a high level. And now they know, and they're going to want it always, right? And so I'm hoping the stands are going to be packed, from the minute kickoff happens until the end of the game, every single game, because they want it too.
I saw one of our interns in the office today, and I stopped by to pick up something. He looked really tired. And I said, "What's going on, man?" He said, "Man, I just got back from San Antonio. I didn't even know he was there. He didn't work there." I said, "You went out there?" He said, "Yeah, after they beat Auburn the other night." Kind of like Ali's story. He decided, but him and his sister.
I got to be there, right?
Him and his sister drove. And they got there right before the game, and then they drove back after the game. But he said he would do it again because of what she just said. He graduated UF in 2023. So he'd never experienced anything like we did. So he just wanted to take it in. So you're right. It's a new experience for those kids.
Yeah,
I can tell you, I'm now 4 for 4 for championships that I have attended in real life. So
you gotta go to them all now. You gotta go to them all.
Don't worry, I will do my part for the rest of my life here. So it won't be on me if we don't win.
I want to talk for a second about the football team. Now, I don't know the genesis of this. I keep hearing different stories. It's hard to track down all these facts. But someone said they thought it was Al Horford who first said "Stay hot, Gator boys." Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was it or not. I do know that was the last tweet that Walter sent out. And it's become a mantra. It's now their T-shirts, there's hats, it's everything.
There's video from them getting interviewed, the 05-06 guys getting interviewed. Right. I don't know if it was the 06 championship or the 07 championship, and it might have even been Torian Green in the back doing his goofy little face saying, "The Gator boys stay hot." But kind of like a group interview almost, where it was said, and they just, on repeat. And I think that also, as silly as it is, that has tied them to the previous generation too, because that resonates, with people my age, because that's what we all said because they were saying it during that championship run. And it's almost like a nod to those guys. And Torian being on that staff too, I think makes everybody feel that way as well. He continued that.
It gives a feeling of legacy, which is what we really want. Yes. And you'll say, well, and then you heard the other side of the story. Rob told me he heard somebody on the station in Jacksonville, not Franzi, whatever, some guy who talked about Florida winning it and how it was the basketball program. And said, Steve Spurrier probably didn't even know who the basketball coach is. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? He not only knows that, he follows all the women's sports. He goes
He's the ambassador.
Yeah. He hosts that kind of idiocy is like, come on, man, get with it. Don't lay that crap out like that. But it is, and it will always be tied together in some fashion. Hold that picture up of your grandpa one more time over there. I love this picture. I remember the picture when it came out. That was what was called then, Scott, a lawhead picture. It was called the guy who shot stills. And to have, no one felt it more than Ali with all around her. She's married, her brother, everybody. Almost everything I've done in my life has been because of the University of Florida. I wound up going there to school, wound up meeting my wife there then. I wound up going out the world and with as a Gator, dealing with the prejudice that we all have built in. I'm married to a Seminole, but she's coming around. She's a little bit. She was cheering for the Gators the other night. Dawn was. Now here's the deal. How much of this will carry over? We've heard these stories before. We've seen these things happen. Will it, in fact, impact the Gator football team? Because the transition, there's a reason, Scott, they decided to move it all to the game on Saturday, right?
Yeah. Obviously, you're going to have a bigger buzz and better atmosphere on Saturday at the Orange and Blue game because of this. And I think a lot of it, those guys are like what Ali was saying, the 06 team and the 08 team. They saw it, what those basketball guys did. They wanted to be a part of that. Well, these guys got a firsthand glimpse of it. You know, we're talking about the students and a generation of students who didn't know what that's like. Well, guess what? They're students too. They don't know anything about it. So now that they get to see it and get to see how the city reacted, the campus reacted, I mean, you wouldn't be human if you're not thinking, man, I want to see if we can do that. So yeah, I think it's natural for there to be some crossover in terms of commitment and just possibilities in their heads. I mean, obviously, it's not going to carry over, you know, into the game plan or anything like that. But it's those intangibles that we can't really measure.
Yes.
That's where it matters. So yeah, if I'm DJ Lagway or you know, Hayden Hansen or whoever, yeah, I want me some of that.
Yeah, the bar has been raised, right? And it is the intangibles. Obviously, it doesn't change a game plan moving forward, but it sure as heck changes that 5 a.m. workout that you were grumbling about. And now you're thinking, man, this might be what separates us from a national championship or not. You know, it will affect how you think of things. On Saturday, it's so smart to celebrate the team right beforehand. There's going to be an even larger crowd than would already be there, which they do a great job drawing a great crowd as it is. And the energy is going to be electric and football is going to feel it, right? And they were already trending in the right direction. But if you get the absolute complete just championship mentality out of players that are already trending in the right direction, that's scary, right? And you've got the right quarterback, I think, to lead. I'm sure that Golden will end up speaking with the football team. The players talk to each other anyway. You know, they're friends. They see each other at Gator dining and things like that. But he'll speak to the team.
They're all together now.
Yeah. And I just, it'll be a good thing for sure.
Yeah. I would like to extend an invitation to you two. I know you're all tired. This is such a come by y'all moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all feeling the same kind of feelings about this. I'd like to put this short audio clip on of Doering that you let him hear the emotion in his voice.
Yeah.
And what he said about it. It blew me away. He got emotional talking about it again today. If you guys would hang for a second,
sure.
We'll take about 5 minutes and we'll play this because it got him all choked up, got me all choked up, and probably will get you choked up. I only have it on my phone. So everybody's thinking of somebody tonight and today and all week. And Gator basketball is a different thing today. It makes you so proud to be a Florida Gator, and nobody more proud than a guy who grew up watching basketball and sports early on all his life. Chris Doering, I saw that wonderful, tearful statement you made on X about what it was like for you and the great picture you had there of you and your son, the experience. How was everything? It must have been wonderful for you to watch this national championship team play and be a part of it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. And this team has been an easy team to cheer for. They're a bunch of likable guys, as Coach Golden talks about all the time. They got a chip on their shoulder. They were all kind of overlooked and under-recruited, and Coach Golden and his staff saw something with the character that they have. I saw early on how competitive, how hard they played, and how much it mattered to them, and doing the little things correctly. So it was an easy team, you know, for this fan base to get behind, and then you start winning, and it becomes a bit of a momentum creator. Winning an SEC championship at the SEC tournament was awesome, and you start thinking what could be when you get to the NCAA tournament, and they come from behind wins over UConn and Texas Tech. It just seemed like a team of destiny, and so I think everybody wanted to be a part of it. Fans and this fan base have been thirsting for success, and you know, to me, the feeling in San Antonio was one of joy, but it was also a bit cathartic too, to get some of that frustration out. I mean, for so long we got used to playing in SEC championships and all the sports and winning national titles, and we got a little bit spoiled. So that drought that we experienced made people want to be there. I was so impressed with how many Gator fans were there on Saturday and the droves that showed up on Sunday and Monday. It was probably, if I think about my fandom throughout my entire life since being a 5-year-old little boy, it was probably the best Gator experience I've ever had as a fan. Obviously, as a player, it's a little different, but as a fan, that whole weekend, being with my Gator brethren, celebrating as a fan, it just it felt more special than anything that I've ever experienced before. And having my son there with me was just the perfect way to experience that together.
Well said. You answered most of my questions with that. Like you said, cathartic. You know, it's like when you're a media person, you hold back. You had to hold back all these years as a Gator because in your job, it's not professional. But the fact is that it was great. It was wonderful to see you come full circle and be able to take off that ESPN logo off your face and wear your Florida Gator look. And it was really wonderful for all the rest of us. I'll just ask you this one other question before I let you go. And thank you for that honest, forthright assessment and sharing that experience with us. That is that when it happened, when they won the championship, and my goodness gracious, they just about gave us 9 heart attacks in doing so. It was absolutely exhilarating and frightening at the same time. When that happened, you suddenly realized they had done this. Aside from your own personal experience, which you shared on Twitter or X, was there one or two people that you thought of? I had mine, Augie Greiner, Bill Koss, obviously Billy Donovan. Was there one person you thought of?
Man, so first of all, you mentioned Bill Koss. I had a chance. I sat in the row in front of him for both the semifinal and the finals. And like you, I have such respect for him. I grew up with him doing the Gator Radio Network color analyst job and just heard the stories of what a player he was. I've known him from a long time from church and just have such respect for him. And so it was so awesome sitting near him, sitting near Dan Cross, sitting near, all of the fans that I've known for years. It was such a cool experience. But you asked me who I thought of, and I thought in that moment about my parents, because my parents are the ones that introduced me to being a Gator, and I'm getting a little emotional just talking about it right now, but they were the ones that took me to the games when I was 5 years old. And I'm not talking just football. I'm talking about basketball in the old O-Dome. I'm talking about, going to Perry Field when it's freezing cold in February and burning up in May, going to gymnastics meets, walking around on campus, throwing the Frisbee, down by the library and the Plaza of the Americas. Like I said it in the interview, but, being a Gator is the love of my life. And my parents introduced me to that. My parents are both Florida graduates. My father was a distinguished professor in the College of Pharmacy for a long time. And being a Gator was something that I was born and raised with. And it still continues to mean so much to me. And that's why I thought of them and hugging my son in that moment, watching one shining moment with our team being the one that cut down the nets. It just meant a lot to me, man. And my almost 52 years on this earth, the one thread throughout my life is the love of the University of Florida.
Well said. It brings whole new meaning to the term. It's great to be a Florida Gator. Congratulations. It feels good to me. It feels good to you. It feels good to Gator Nation. Now, let's see what the football team can do. Stay hot, Gator boys, is what the motto was.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this, though. I think what we saw with the little momentum being created in football in the month of November and into December, that's something. Football is the first sport to get going along with soccer. You kind of set the tone on the athletic calendar. And I think the success that Florida had late in the season was something to help jumpstart the basketball team as well.
The great Chris Doering. Chris, thank you for everything. Thanks for such a wonderful comment, and congratulations to you, to me, and all of Gator Nation.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you very much, buddy.
Well, that is pretty hard to top right there. Your reaction.
I mean, I think that there are so many of us with similar thoughts on that and stories on that. And we all owe something to the University of Florida for the way that our lives have turned out. I married my husband, who I met there. My parents met at UF. My grandfather, I mean, my life would be different without the University of Florida. And so he's right. It made me think when he was talking about his parents too. My grandmother is still alive, Lillian Peek, Scotty's wife. And a little known fact about her is that they had basketball season tickets when they lived in Gainesville as well. And she would go to every game with or without him because sometimes he had to work, and she would keep stats in a stat book.
That's where you got it from.
Yes, she would keep stats for every basketball game, every home game. She would keep stats, and she would go to the baseball games and she would keep stats there. So even though we were a football first family, my grandmother was actually basketball and baseball first. It's so hard not to, if you're a family that grew up in this, think about all of the people that introduced you to it. And it's why you love it. And it's why sports are emotional for us, right? Because there is some kind of familial tie that brought us to that point.
Yes, Scott, there's a spectator part of it, and there's the personal side, which is amazing. And that was cool.
And we, Allie has a great historic story. Chris obviously does. I've got like a weird story. I mean, I was born in East Tennessee, about 45 minutes from Knoxville. So my parents divorced when I was 10 years old. And my mom remarried my stepfather, and we moved to Orlando. And I mean, it was a very hard time. I'm 12, 13 years old. Those are hard times.
Yeah.
And you know how you're that age, man, you're just looking for something to latch onto, right?
Yeah.
And, I was trying to make new friends. I'd never been to Florida at that time. And you can only go to Disney World a couple of times before you get tired of that. So the Gators suddenly emerged because a kid in my neighborhood, he was a diehard Gator fan. And so we bonded over that. And the Gators kind of emerged as, what I followed and what I got into, kind of rooted me in Florida. So, that's my story. Like I said, we all have different ones, but that is why it matters so much.
The great thing about it is during this time, and we could be cheering at being the only school with 3 national natties in basketball and football, which I do, is that we're all feeling so gregarious, and we feel we want to raise other people up to recognize them. And like, we're so grateful. That's the attitude I love about it. The gratitude is the cool thing about it in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, that's one thing I do appreciate it about Florida, Gator Nation, as we call it. All fan bases are different, and they all have their goods and bads. But I do always think Florida is kind of just a classy fan base as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our bad moments, but it does bring people together. And it's like Chris was saying on your phone call. I'd never seen in my time around, I'd never seen that many fans just getting together and having a good time, and really caring about this stuff on a personal level, but also willing to share it collectively. And that is what sports are about, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Final thoughts, guys. Where do we go from here? I guess the orange and blue game, right?
The orange and blue game. We celebrate this team. We continue to celebrate what they did, and we hope that the carryover is real, and I think it will be. We also have a gymnastics team that is going to be competing in the national final in 2 weeks, and so we talk about carrying over to football. Let's carry it over to gymnastics. Let's get Jenny Rowland a national.
I think I can go anymore.
I said to Eric, we were out there.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, you've been a big supporter. I know, your girls especially. So that's great.
They're so fun to watch and so talented. And this is not supposed to be their year because of the injuries. And here we are with the opportunity, Yeah.
And we have some nice stories from Dan Bond on there about gymnastics. We appreciate that. I feel so proud for Franz Beard tonight. He's invested emotionally and otherwise this basketball program for a long time. Been covering him forever. And so I know he's really feeling he has to have surgery. He hurt his knee now. He has to have ACL surgery. Oh. So he won't be able to be at the game on Saturday. So anyway, with a lot of pain, but a lot of joy. I want to thank both of you for the contributions you've made to this show. You've been fantastic, Allie, and you, Chris, and Scott, you too. I appreciate everything you've done. And so thanks for being on the program. It was a good night to be a Gator, and thank you for sharing the time with me.
All right, buddy. See you guys. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night. For those who wondered about a time, I think the time I read was 1:30. But go to FloridaGators.com and check it out, because I don't know that for sure. It just seems like I read it someplace, but I've read a lot of things lately, and I could be wrong about that too. But yeah, so yeah, folks, I want to tell you about Titan MRI, who's a terrific sponsor of ours. It's now called Titan MRI and Imaging, and they do some terrific things. No one likes to have MRIs, but when you get to that point in time, you have to have one. You want to go where you won't have to get claustrophobic about it. And and when I go to one of those cages, if it's up against my nose, it's tough. Playing the music and think, oh my gosh, can I hold on for 3 minutes? Well, Titan is aware of that, and they want you to know they make this a better experience for you, because they're considering you and your comfort level, even to the point of where if you can't come during the week because of your job, they will schedule you a night appointment to come. Locations they have to serve you in the North Central Florida area. Titan MRI and Imaging. Acquired Highfield MRI, Joe Colorio. Of course, he started Highfield in 1997. Now he's back, and they now have 3 locations to serve you. Soon to have 4. 2 in Gainesville with his Park Avenue location, and now the Millennium Center, and one in Lake City. Soon to have one in Marion County. So Titan MRI Imaging offers the same great customer service they've always had, except they now accept insurance, or through their convenient self-pay option, you can figure out a way to get it paid if you don't have insurance. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, x-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings, large MRI machines, etc. So I would encourage you, if you don't know about Titan MRI and Imaging, that you should be aware of them. And you should know they got locations to serve you somewhere in North Central Florida. You might be surprised at how reasonable it is. Make sure Titan MRI and Imaging is your choice. Buddy Martin, what a great night it was. Thank you to Chris Doering for that terrific interview we had, to Ali and to Jeffrey Meldon tonight. He was weighing in on things. We don't get him off very often. And of course, Scott Carter, appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, because it was a special night and one I'll not forget. It's been a special week, as a matter of fact, and what I'll not forget. I hope yours was as special as mine was. All right. So with that, we'll say thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We're back tomorrow night with our guys right here on the Buddy Martin Show.